We've made it to chapter 7. So we want to continue on, and in chapter 6 we talked about discrete variables, and in chapter 7 we're going to learn about continuous variables, and therefore we're going to use the normal distribution. So the beginning of the chapter starts out introducing you to the normal distribution, the symmetry, how the normal distribution is drawn. And then it shows you how 0 is always set at the middle, and every standard deviation increments up 1 and back 1. So for the standard normal curve, your mu is 0 and your sigma is 1. And then what happens is, then we want to be able to use the normal curve for any normal distribution. And in order to do that, we need to standardize the distribution. And we'll be using the table in the book, table 5 on page A11 and A12, and we can convert the z-scores, that the x values that were given in our problem, to z-scores, and then we can use the standard normal curve. That way we can use the standard normal curve for any scenario, any story problem that we work with. So just in general, so what's going to happen is in 7.1, you're going to learn about the normal distribution. In 7.2, you're going to start calculating probabilities using the standard normal curve. And I wanted you to practice using table 5 just to do that a few times, and then feel free to use the graphing calculator for the rest of the time. And then you'll also, as that section continues on, you'll be converting story problems and x values to the standard normal curve so that you can find those areas and those probabilities. In section 7.3, you're going to learn how to determine if your distribution is normal enough to be able to use section 7.2. So we want to be able to use the methods of this chapter if we can, and so 7.2 is going to help us determine if the distribution is normal. We're not going to cover 7.4. 7.4 talks about using the normal curve to estimate a binomial distribution. And I said, you might want to look at the figures on page 357 just so that you can see how a discrete variable would look underneath the standard normal curve. Then the main thing that you want to pick up in the section is using your calculator. So we're going to be using normal CDF. And there's a technology step-by-step in the book. I put the little recap in this document where you're going to take the low value of x, the high value of x, your mu and your sigma. If you're going backwards, you're doing inverse normal. So inverse normal is going to give you the z-score or the x value associated with an area. So you're going to type in the area to the left of the x you want to calculate, and the mu and the standard deviation. So one of them is the normal distribution, the normal CDF, and the other one is inverse normal. On the very bottom, I just put some comments, and especially with the idea of being careful with rounding. So I gave you an example here that depending on what you put in, if you put in a value like 0.748 rounded to 3 decimal points and not 0.7483 rounded to 4 decimal points, you could get a couple of different answers. And if you use the table, you can get even another answer. So my math lab is usually pretty forgiving as far as the round off on with these complicated calculations, but I just wanted to give you a heads up as far as watching out for rounding in the section. And we're going to say, let's round to 4 decimal places all the time. Okay, have a good week.